Thanks for joining us for this program today. We are taping from IMEX America. We're going to have a great panel on technology trends I'm sure you'll enjoy. And this is all sponsored by Tourism Australia, who's gracious enough to bring this to everyone at no charge. So stay tuned after the first part of the program, and we're going to have a quick chat with them to see what's up in Australia, down under, and enjoy the program. Thank you. Hello, and welcome to today's on-location broadcast from WOW to Need Now, Tech Trends. My name's Tyler Davidson. I'm the Vice President and Chief Content Director of Meetings Today. Thank you for joining us. We're going to cover a wide variety of topics here on location at IMEX America 2017 in Las Vegas. I'm joined today by an esteemed panel of technology experts, Corbin Ball, the founder of Corbin Ball Associates, Chen, CEO of Geoteaming and our resident drone expert for today, and then finally Leo Gestetner, the CEO of Zenvoy. So thanks for joining us, guys.
Happy to be here.
Happy to be here.
And you know, at this conference here, we're seeing just a lot of technology. It's always emerging and always changing, as it is at all these conferences we go to out in the industry. And I think the guy to talk to about that is Corbin Ball, so we'll kick it off with him. And he recently, well, every year I guess you write a tech trends piece, kind of culling out the top trends you're seeing. So why don't you tell the viewers about that? And I understand one of them I wrote down was artificial intelligence and chat box is a big thing now.
I think this is going to have artificial intelligence in general is going to have a huge impact on society, and chatbox, an interesting thing is they're working their way into events.
What is chatbox?
A chatbox is a text-based system where people can ask questions and get an automated response, and either through a series of menus that have been pre-written or through artificial intelligence, it can understand a deeper meaning and actually bring out more data. And so it's interesting that text is by far and away the most widely used app on a smartphone. 95% of smartphone users use text every day, and where it's only 55% use other apps. So it's a natural interface that people are using. Also, although voice interface is going to be really important, another very big trend that doesn't apply very well in a conference setting. You don't talk into your phone in a meeting room, or it's hard to in a noisy environment like an exhibit hall. And so text is a more natural way of doing it. And so I think that you've seen a Sciencio's event or concierge chat box as an example. There have been a number of 4 or 5 ones I point out in the article, but they are using artificial intelligence to gather the information to respond in a more natural way. And I think that that's going to be, in fact, ultimately, it's more direct. You get more information that in some ways they could even replace some of the mobile event apps, because it's a more direct route of getting the information that you want.
So there's going to be some disruption in that segment of the industry, perhaps?
To some extent. I think that the event apps are still very important. They're not going to go away, but I think that people are going to find this a more direct way. And what I find is interesting about it is that the possibility of using artificial intelligence to gather the information that makes that process much simpler. That if you eventually be able to send your web page of your event web page, and you could include in all the rules from the convention center in terms of exhibitor move in, all that stuff. It can with artificial intelligence. And the capabilities, they can read through, scan, understand what it is, and automatically you won't have to type in the menu item, what are the registration hours, who's speaking here, when can I move in? You know, all these questions can be answered kind of in an automated manner, and that's where things are going with that, using artificial intelligence to do that.
Interesting. And then you also mentioned a proliferation of direct booking through Airbnb and outlets.
Well, not exactly Airbnb, but Airbnb-like tools.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things. First of all, there's the challenge that you have here is that there are approximately 1.8 million meetings held in the United States every year. Probably more than 80 of them are small meetings, under 50 people. And yet, many hotels handle the booking process for these small meeting rooms in the same way that they handle for large meeting rooms. You have to contact a hotel sales office, you negotiate a contract, you work through it. This all takes time and effort on both sides to do that. Mm-hmm. It adds to the expense of doing it. And I think that you've seen a range of new tools. One is Ivy that's come out. It's an Australian-based company that has moved to North America. They have a pretty established network in Australia for direct booking of many event venues. They're moving that to the United States. And so that's one aspect of it in the kind of the more corporate method of doing it. But what I find that's interesting is that there are companies that use the Airbnb-like model. You open up PeerSpace and Spacer, and there are 5 or 6 other ones that you open it up, and you say, this looks just like Airbnb. And they have the same layout, the same map. You have the user ratings with this. And oftentimes, some of them are coming in with traditional meeting space, but like Airbnb, many people are opening up their unique venue with this, and it allows for direct booking of the space, which can save all that time and energy. It's all taken care of, and it's this familiar model or environment that people are using with that. Airbnb is already by far and away the largest hotel booking site or sleeping room booking site in the world by far, with an estimated value of $30 billion compared to, for example, the largest hotel corporation, Hilton Hotel Corporation. Their estimated value is at $25 billion. And so that's had a huge impact on that industry. Now you're taking that same concept and applying it to meeting space, and that will have a big impact for event planners.
And I know I've heard people talking, and maybe this is a little off topic, but that room blocks. What's going to happen to those in the future now that everyone's just familiar with these interfaces like Airbnb, just going and getting their own room?
It definitely will have an impact, but I think in some ways, for example, San Francisco has been the leader of that. It's really that's where it was all started and created. But you look at a map of San Francisco, and oftentimes the hotel space there is limited. And if you have a citywide booking, there's just simply not enough hotel rooms there to meet the demand. And so that's why the San Francisco Travel Association, they are working with Airbnb, they're promoting this, and other companies such as Experian has worked out business dealings with this to manage this overflow areas. So in some ways it can help as well. It will definitely be a competition to hotels as well for alternate. They don't, it depends on what you want. It's not for everyone. You don't have full-time security at a place. You don't have the amenities. You don't have
a business center,
business center, and all those, or loyalty
this
points.
Is your business center.
Yeah. So that's so it's not for everyone, but I think it meets a demand for many people coming to events, and I think it overall it's a general move for the better.
Corbin, I actually used PeerSpace in San Francisco to rent a venue where the budget didn't allow us to use traditional venues, and PeerSpace found us a venue that allowed us to bring our own food in, which almost no hotel in San Francisco would let us do, and and it was an art museum. Yeah. And so we took this unique space that they have empty most of the time and turned it into a meeting space, and it was a fantastic meeting.
A perfect example, John. Yeah, that's exactly right.
And then also you mentioned frictionless registration check-in.
And that has been, and you're moving toward this in a number of ways. There are movements for just streamlining the process, and you have check-in apps now available. They've been around for a few years that make that process for checking through and quickly processing. And there are companies that are working in to make really a registration system out of the box that you can have self-scanners and you can self-registration and so forth. But I think what you're finding are some interesting trends. One is using beacon technology as well, that people in using that have found in certain cases that you can speed the registration process considerably if it's well advertised in advance and people can know that using an app, it will recognize when the person comes into an event and direct them in the right place and automatically print out their badge, and there you go. One of the things that I think that I outline in the article with the video is the possibility of using face recognition as well, that in fact there are claims of much faster registration capabilities. There's of course the issue of privacy, but there are many events where you want it to be private. You want only the people that are registered for the event to come in, and that's face recognition is one of the more secure ways of doing that. So that's what it's all about. Technology is not an end in itself. Technology should be used to make that business process of running events or whatever better and smoother and more friction-free. And so I think that you're seeing a number of ideas moving in that direction to make that better.
And then cloud-based technology.
I think that this is one of the things that is I'm happy to see. That the problem is that with traditional software, much of it, for example, the major registration software systems have been written several years ago, and they are very good in many ways, and they're very complete. But but newer cloud-based systems are more nimble, and easier to interoperate with others. And a basic registration is an invitation system for the public is Eventbrite, but it's a model that they have where they have hundreds of other technology companies that they interoperate because it's built at their core to share data back and forth. And so you have the Event Tech Tribe is one example I outlined, whereas that there are a number of different companies, but they are working together to work as one. And with robust application programming interfaces, APIs, that make that data sharing happen easier, it makes the opportunity for an event tech deck that people can pick and choose from what they want, specifically what they want to meet their needs, and yet it will work together. And that's the beauty of cloud-based technology, the newer tools that allow that to happen on an easier basis.
And then you also mentioned advances in GPS technology.
And augmented and virtual reality as well. I think that, but that's part of it. For example, the Google I/O conference, they have a new system where is using augmented reality. They can recognize, and artificial intelligence, they can recognize the area around them, and so that you can have very precise positioning of where people go and to find their way through a store, for example, but to find their way through meeting facilities. Eventually, finding their way through an exhibit hall is a possibility for that. I think that will be one of the things that can have an impact with that. I think that just in general, the development of augmented reality is going to be a significant component as well that you have with both Google and Apple. Both of the major phone operating systems are making a big emphasis on that. All the new Apple phones have AR built into it, and it's not only going to be for being able to determine a menu item, what exactly would it look like, or how a specific piece of furniture would look in your house. Mm-hmm. I think the applications for events, for being able to, for wayfinding, for being able to provide information, to provide gamification as well, the Pokemon Go type of thing, but really on a whole higher level, using AR as it becomes widespread, which is now when the major phone companies, the major phone operating systems are building this in at their core, it has become mainstream now, and we're going to see some big advances in the next couple of years.
It's just going to be one of these things that's going to be ubiquitous before we even know it, probably.
I think that it will be, and there's lots of opportunities for development in the event planning arena for that.
You know, in the early stages, we saw this augmented reality. We took a beautiful room like this, and you hold up a card. It could even say the word like dining set, and you bring it up, and it starts playing a video on that card of what this room looks like, dressed up in like 4 or 5 different ways. And that's a way to visualize to a client to see how it is. But the second app is such a barrier to other people adopting this that by building it in, I'm going to be very curious to see what people do with it.
I agree. Yeah.
And what do you know about the new iPhone coming out? I mean, you mentioned the facial recognition. I mean, they always promise more magic than the previous version. Are they full of it or?
No. I think I mean it's there. I mean, I think that that's another trend that's going to happen. As I briefly mentioned for registration check-in is facial recognition. Well, facial recognition has now gone mainstream. Although Leo, you were mentioning that in your Surface tablet, they've had that for years, but now it's in the phone, it's going to be used, people are comfortable with it, they are familiar with the process, and now it becomes mainstream. And I think so the continued advancing of our universal technology device, our mobile phone, or I prefer to call the widget the wireless internet device for geoposition, e-commerce, and telecommunication, because it does so much more than a phone can ever do. It's an amazing tool that continues to advance.
Do you think in the future we'll just mail our phones to a conference and we can just sit at home?
Well, that's one of the things about virtual reality. One of the aspects there are a number of ways. Virtual site inspections and virtual booth design and inspection and room diagramming, and then booth interactivity capabilities. But one that's coming will be virtual event attendance. First of all, it'll be to sports games and major concerts and that. But as that becomes, if you want to go, you want to have a front row seat, and at the TED Talk, for example, you'd be able to put on your goggles and be sitting there in the midst of things. And so I think that has potential as well.
Sounds like sort of Second Life. You skip the whole conference and have it all virtual.
Second Life. That's really kind of what it is. Only instead of avatars, instead of real people. So that it is. We're living in really exciting times. It's really
I think I have an avatar in Second Life that's just been sitting somewhere for like 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, me too.
Cryo.
Well, thank you, Corbin.
Sure.
Great information, and let's move on over to John. You're always up to something new, and maybe start off by telling people what it is Geoteaming does and kind of your niche in the industry here.
Yeah, so my name is John Chen. I'm the CEO for Geoteaming. We specialize in corporate team building events that use technology and adventure. I'm proud to say this is my 20th year in the business. We've done over 1,600 events, and we do anywhere from 100 and 160 events. And I got to take a minute here just to be in Las Vegas, and I'm gonna light a candle here. I know it's just because we're indoors, but really, truly, I got to visit the Welcome to Las Vegas last night. I was worried about coming here, but I can tell you that it was impactful, and that the job that the first responders and all of our hospitality friends here that we were very concerned about are doing such an amazing job. The fact that Vegas Strong is everywhere, up and down the Strip, is really having an impact on me. And so, this is to all those, thank you to all of those for your service.
Yeah, I've been very impressed with how the industry has come together. And I wasn't here for this, but someone said they even dimmed, they cut all the lights off on the Strip for a number of minutes to remember that terrible event that happened just about a week ago now. So yeah, thanks for that recognition, John.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's people and team building is so important, and beyond all this technology, right? It's still in the end, it's going to be about us. It's going to be about people.
Well, that said, so your new thing is drone technology, right?
Yeah, well, the fun part to add on to what Corbin is doing is like, we were talking earlier about this. So this device here is, everything is revolutionized by the fact that you have this $1,000 device but that we paid for, not you, and so that people can develop this technology on top of it and get this benefit all the time. And we do this in our events, and so we do a geocaching style event. And, Corbin's talking about Pokemon Go. Like, we actually have created a Pokemon Go-like event for trade shows, where now instead of hunting, Jigglypuff or something, instead it's a vendor who's paid for that.
Hey, you were talking about strapping a beacon on me or something earlier. I don't know.
Yeah.
You spring stuff like that on me.
So just so we go, we'll do it when we're talking about it. So this is an example of a beacon. This is a battery-operated beacon. We could stick one in every booth, for instance, and if you had that right app, it would actually start to react differently as you walk through the trade show floor. And so this right here, you can actually see a radar screen on here of the beacons that are nearby. And so if I had one, we were talking about having a "Where's Tyler Davidson?" It's like I could put it on a portable battery. That's what actually this little device here is actually an iBeacon.
Really?
And just on the educational side, an iBeacon is a low-powered Bluetooth device that is emitting a special code and a signal, so that when my app knows that that special code is coming in, let's say the one I had for you, it says Tyler Davidson's near. Oh, well, that's exciting. And so it would actually help me find out when I'm closer to you, and then when I'm close to you, would unlock a mission and say, hey, let's take a selfie with Tyler.
Mm-hmm.
For clarification, this is actually most of the 95% is the battery.
Oh, yeah,
that,
sorry,
that little
Just
tiny
to
piece
clarify,
there is the
this right
is the
here
beacon. It's-
is a beacon, and what we've been talking about here in beacon technology, this is just the power, that's right, is that this little device now in retail, the last research I saw, has the ability to influence $54 billion worth of transactions this year by feeding custom information to people who are asking for it. So.
Interesting. So, and what are some of the applications then you use that for? You mentioned a few.
In our team building event, so we can custom program these beacons and either put them in locations or again on people.
Yeah.
And then we have a team building event. So again, like using this Pokemon Go example, instead of a vendor now we can actually do a person. So in this case, let's say Corbin is that. We can actually put the beacon on Corbin, and so as part of our game, it's like Where's Waldo?
Right.
If you can find Corbin, who might be the CEO for a company, right, and he's walking around instead of being stationary, you can get a lot of points associated with that. And again, we use that as team challenges and an exciting adventure race. So again, anywhere from the entertainment side to the educational side. So another good example is that you got to a beacon, was a person who was a subject matter expert, and now you have the ability to ask them a question. That might be a better example of like the educational aspect that we do inside of our team building events. And I think, Corbin, you and I are in the learning business. We've been speaking to a lot of people. When you do something different, people remember.
And you can broaden that out as well. If you have wearable beacon technology where all attendees are wearing beacons, that you can measure heat maps in an exhibit hall. Very important. I used to have people stand in the rafters and count people as they're going in because it's such an important bit of information. Now you can have that real time, all the time, where people are and where they're not. Measure dwell times in front of an exhibit booth. If you're standing in front of the booth for 15 minutes, you're probably more interested in walking by. That's important, very valuable information to exhibitors, but also for the attendees, that they can have a full transcript of their attendee journey through the exhibit hall and who they met with, and it goes on and on and on. There are many capabilities there.
And I suppose you should let Corbin know if you're going to slip the beacon on him, right?
Bumper.
Yeah, exactly. He wondered why he was the most popular guy at the conference. Right?
We have to not ever wonder.
Well, that's great. But I mean, recently you've been joining our events, our Meetings Today live events, and our recent one, our West event in Tucson. Actually, you succeeded in getting me up like at 5 in the morning or something, which is
That's a miracle in
that
itself,
is a
right?
miracle. Yeah, that's more of a miracle than all the technology. To go out and out in the field, as they say, and get some interesting footage via drones. So, like you're the drone guy now. Tell everyone about that and describe how those can be beneficial for meetings. And I believe you have a clip too to show us from the event.
Yeah, let me do a little lead into this clip. So just to talk about how we got into drones, we do these team building events, and people submit photographs and videos as evidence of that they completed items with it. So at the end of the show, we always build this beautiful slideshow set to music, and people love that. They still love watching themselves as the star. I think it goes on that customization track. Anyways, we decided that we're looking for new visual elements, and of course, when I saw drone footage on things like YouTube, I'm like, that's spectacular. How can we get that in our team building event?
The quality of them, it's like a movie. It's like a Hollywood movie quality.
It's like a helicopter, which costs a lot of money with a very expensive camera that's stabilized, and it's you've seen the equipment is 1,000 or 1,500 or less, and getting 4K level quality. So I bought a drone in January and started flying it on my own, and then started integrating it as a bonus piece inside of our team building events, and the response has been phenomenal. But I think what's more important too is the learning. It's such a new technology that it's learning, and so, but just to show how spectacular it is, let's take a look at this clip that we did in Tucson at Meetings Today Live West.
And so I hope you enjoyed that clip. As I said, John got me up early. It was worth it. And he took me out all around Tucson, as it turned out in the desert, up on A Mountain, they call it. Hey! And, even more than the application just for the event, as the producer of the event, Meetings Today, I mean, we use that clip to promote our future events, to share it with people in our audience, to hey, you're going to have a great time when you come to one of our events, and so I thank you for that, and you and your team really pieced it together fast. I think everything was pretty much done by the last day, and we were still in session, and you're playing this video, which was just amazing.
Yeah, so we'll talk a little bit about how the magic is done. People talk about drones and they expect, like, hey, where's your drone? Like, where's the case? Where's the backpack? This is how far the technology has come just since January. And I didn't know that actually, it's got all the statistics too. I've flown over 170 flights since January. And that's like, in a short time, has made me an expert. This is it.
That just blew my mind when I saw that.
This is the entire drone package. So as we do a little unpack here, I'm gonna do a little show and tell. And so this piece here, right, is the most important part. This is the drone, right? Here, Corbin, will you hold on to that? Thank you so much. And then this is the controller, and this is a little piece. So I'm actually gonna do a quick setup here. So let's pretend like I was gonna fly. We shouldn't fly indoors unless you have explicit permission, but here's what we're gonna do. This is a fun part. This is like Robotech, right? This drone is foldable. And so with this is that it can, in a very short amount of space, or small amount of space, become a drone. This is the gimbal protector. This is the expensive part, which is the camera protection here that stabilizes the camera while it's flying. And this now is a workable drone. So as I power this on, you press once and then hold. That's going to power on. You'll probably hear it make some beeps here.
Don't knock over your water.
That's right. it won't. It actually won't power on. You can see it actually was just trying to move its propellers there. The cool part here too is see the propellers actually as they're folded up. I don't even have to do anything with that, because what you can do is you can just let the centrifugal force bring it up. So the next thing I'm doing here is I'm attaching my phone to this controller, which then becomes the screen, which allows me to see what's going on. I power this on. This is the actual controller, so this is actually talking to this. I hit this button, I'm entering a device, and in just 1 second, we should be connected. While I'm waiting for this connection, the last piece that I have here, this is actually a reflector, a very actually inexpensive device, but this piece here increases the range, especially in places like, say, Las Vegas or other cities, where the signal can be confused with all the other types of signals in the area. But now, as you can see here, we actually have a workable shot. So So as I move the camera around, you can actually see that this is a working drone. So this whole setup right here, the entire video that we just shot was shot with this. This is about 1500 new, right? And my iPhone.
Yeah.
And we did that level of production, which looks like a very expensive studio did it.
Right.
With this equipment right here.
And we should add, you did have other sort of camera setups. You didn't use the drone for the entire thing. It's quite obvious where you use the drone because you're flying out a mile. But
It's to look cool.
it was, yeah, it was an amazing job. You can, if you want to savor it even more, it's on our website, meetingstoday.com. So yeah, this is like your thing now. I know when I first heard of it, and being someone who sort of produces events a little bit, one of the first questions we had, and what a lot of people may have, is like, well, what if this thing goes out of control and flies into the crowd? Is there insurance you need, or how would you respond to that sort of question?
Well, we're always watching the latest news with that, and again, there are lots of things that people have done that are not smart. But it's also, a lot of people have done, you can tell the footage is amazing, and that's why I think we're looking at it. And really, the FAA, of course, has now published guidelines around it, and it's really about following those.
Yeah.
And as us in the event profession, we should look for the best practices. This is something new.
Yeah.
It's like when cell phones came out, people didn't know what was going to happen with it. It's up to us to be leaders inside of the industry and do that. And so like in these two issues, one is we bought insurance, for instance, for your event.
Yeah.
The cool part is now it's an app. It's called Verifly. I can get $1 million of insurance for $10.
Wow.
For an hour's worth of flying insurance, right? And the second one is on safety. So the FAA rules specifically say you cannot fly over people, right, without explicit permission. So in shots that we're flying over people, you can actually see we're away.
Yeah.
We're not flying directly over, you're away somehow. So if you're looking for large events, you're going to think about how can I fly this safely so in the event that something happens, that it'll be away from people, which is really the case. And the last piece here is the amount of technology in this thing is amazing. There's a GPS inside of here. There's vision technologies. There's cameras forward. There's actually sonar sensors heading down. So when it lands, it knows now not to crash. And so all those things lead into it. We're talking about the return to home feature, which is if it loses signal, or if I lose sight of it, or if I lose control, it will actually start to come back and land itself automatically in the place that it started. And I think all of these things are leading to the safe use that is possible with this drone.
And I think, I know when you're doing our events, that you're asking every facility explicitly, can we do, you just don't launch this thing at the Marriott or whatever, and not tell anyone or ask them for permission.
I think that is the greatest thing that we can do in this industry, is just be open about it.
Yeah.
And respect people's wishes, because it is a new technology. It's the camera too, Corbin. It's like that facial recognition. We haven't talked about the dark side that some people. I do video interviews all the time, and like, hey, would you do a video interview? And they're like, no. Right?
Right. I get that too.
There's there's a lot of hesitation around that, and so I think the best thing that we can do right now is ask for explicit permission from the people who are in charge of this, and make sure they know, because there's nothing worse than a surprise. At your event that you are unexpected, and in the end is unwanted, or more importantly, is dangerous. And and that's what we've been looking. It's not only, you have to think about not only the hotel, but then the region, the FAA, like there's multiple layers that I've discovered, and that's how I've been able to be successful, is by talking to each of them, just communicating.
And I know I've seen a lot of the other footage you've done. Do you have that on your website, some of your drone stuff, or?
Yeah, we feature a lot of it on our blog, so it's geoteaming.com, and then this is GeoBlog. In addition to that, our YouTube channel, Geoteaming TV, has all of our footage, and again, some of it very spectacular.
Yeah, it really fascinates me. Thanks, John.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And let's move over to Leo now. You own Zenvoy, and you have a very big presence here at IMEX. So why don't you describe to everyone what your company does, and was speaking with you, I kind of brought up, what you do sort of extends the event before, during, and after, and you made the comment, it's just like 24/7, 365 days a year is what you guys provide.
Thank you, Tyler. It's Leo Gestetner, CEO of Zenvoy. We're an online networking platform Events is an important part of what we do. It's not all we do. We're also associations and alumni. But for events, it's extending that event, that 1, 2, 3 day event, to at least 5 months of networking. But more and more events now are saying, well, let's make this year round. Let's continue to add value. Why stop the networking after a few months? So, why do people attend events? There's some education. There's certainly an aspect of that. But I think a lot of it is about networking. It's about building your connections, about building your business. And that's where Zenvoy really can add a lot of value. And I think that's where technology starts moving. So you're going to our form of artificial intelligence, where it's learning what kind of people you want to meet, and it gets more and more intelligent. As you give feedback to the system, it learns. If you post a question, so we've got a question system, what we call a lead system. If you post a question or a want or a need, then again, it learns from that. So the system is continuing to learn who you want to meet, what kind of people you want to meet. I think that's where a lot of events are moving towards, is providing that value beyond just the event. So trying to provide a better return for the attendees, and really year round.
And I know I've heard someone say, and they were speaking mainly about millennials when they were talking about this, but I know I talked to you and you said it's kind of true with everyone, is that a lot of, especially the younger people coming to these conferences, the education is very important, but there's so many resources out there. You can Google a topic and learn everything just about you need to know. So that piece is not the critical component of a face-to-face meeting as such. You're coming here to interact with people face-to-face, and you want to know who has your specific, who the colleague is you should talk to. And so folks who do what you do facilitate that to happen, right?
Working out who you should meet. And it's hard for you to search through and try and find people. It's much better that you've got a system that can do that for you, that can help you find the right people. You're right.
I think anyone that's goes through the list of attendees that's 40,000 names long, and trying to sort through that, and and I guess you can find out maybe what company they're with, but you really don't know what specific experience or piece of knowledge they have that might match up with what you're after, right?
No, I mean, there's no way a person can do that. Even if there was someone at the event that tries to do the matching, which we really span out from. We span out from the idea of an association who tried to do that one-on-one matching for their members, and that worked for a month or two.
Yeah.
But you then suddenly get really complicated. So the first match is not too bad. The second match, you then start working out, well, who's met who, and how do you, for us, with 3 minutes of onboarding, you can learn a remarkable amount about someone, which the computer can then work out, and we've got quite a clever algorithm that works out sort of what we call up and down on the matches. So it says, well, you're not exactly this, but are you -1, +1, and works out how to match people. But you need a computer to do that. You need, you can't do that yourself.
There's just too much information out there, and about individual people and what they do, right? I mean, you could spend all day figuring that out.
And it's also actually what we like to say is you don't always know who you want to meet.
Yeah.
So
there's a serendipity element then too.
The problem is you always meet the same people.
Yeah.
We all attend events and hang out with the same 5 people we know. You want something to say, no, these people you should meet, and actually some of those will be good introductions.
Yeah.
One of the ways I put it is that one good contact at an event can oftentimes pay for the entire event.
Absolutely.
And if you can use technology to do that, that's a really good thing. So
yeah, you're right. It only takes one piece of business.
Yeah, and I know, the traditional, exhibit floor model, and it was always, you sit at your booth and you wait for people to come by, right? I mean, that's so in the past now, it's not even funny. And, and IMEX was one of the people that has really changed that a lot.
I think you're right. With the hosted buyer program, IMEX really changed that model and said, let's get the right people to you.
Yeah. And this even drills down further into that.
It does, but this is actually going beyond that, which is saying, so the hosted buyer program is fantastic. It's saying exhibitors are meeting the right people and the right people are meeting the exhibitors. But what it isn't doing is saying, how do you give those buyers a chance to meet each other? Because you don't just get business and give business to the exhibitors. Yeah. By the nature of this kind of industry, the buyers are all working together. So it's a way to network them with each other as well. So that's going that step beyond.
And so maybe give the audience an example of how it works. And I know the first thing with any technology, first question is, okay, well, what's it going to cost my budget to implement this, right? And you were even talking about people can monetize this and get revenue from it.
I mean, we have a cost per attendee is one way of doing it, and it's not expensive. I mean, we've designed it to be very affordable. But yes, you can go from that to free and get it fully sponsored yourself. So we've got people who have it fully sponsored or actually even make money out of it. So they're charging a certain amount for sponsorship and it costs them less than that. That's fine. Or we've got other people who say, actually, some big associations who say, actually, we're going to charge people to use the system, and they do a revenue share with us. So yeah, it can be anything from a relatively small cost up to actually a revenue generator for organizations. Yeah.
And I imagine it's very scalable, different sizes.
I mean, these days, you were talking about cloud platforms. I mean, the whole thing was designed. We purposely didn't design it as an app, because that sits on your phone and that just lives there. We designed it as a cloud-based system. So yes, you can use an app. Yes, you can just do everything by email if you want, or you can log into the website, or you can. But by cloud-based, it's completely scalable. At the moment we're using Google's platform, but it literally scales on the fly. You could have 1,000 people using it this minute, 100,000 the next minute, and the system will just automatically scale. It's just in the background. You only know because you get a bill at the end of the month from Google for money.
And so maybe an example of how this works at IMEX then, and I'm sure you're going to be tracking all the results and all that. I guess it starts up before the event and continues on.
Yeah, I mean, we started probably 6 weeks before IMEX, probably 3 weeks realistically, because a lot of people hadn't registered in advance. But so far for IMEX, we use dedicated portals. So this is imexconnections.com rather than Zenvoy. So people.
You were mentioning that's important. Yeah. Mention that again, like the URL.
So we used to Zenvoy always we've been around a while and we've always used things under Zenvoy. And we realized that actually people are like, what's Zenvoy? And that's fair enough.
It's for them, not for you, right?
So by being under imexconnections.com, which is the one we use for IMEX, and we've got custom URLs for most of our events and associations, you understand it's IMEX. It's related to IMEX. Therefore, you respond to that much better. So we've had already 25% of the buyer attendees have already onboarded, and I expect that to increase substantially after the show, because the whole beauty is it continues. We've made already 6,000 introductions as of this morning in the last few weeks. If I look at IMEX Frankfurt, I think we've already made almost 20,000 introductions. Really? So that continues. That will grow over time. And what we're actually talking about now is making it the IMEX connections to actually provide a year-round networking and potentially across the shows. So actually, because the system is intelligent and matches the right people, there's no reason why you need to separate on the networking side shows just because they're in different geographical areas doesn't mean that actually the right people can't be matched. Yeah. So trying to give that a much more integrated networking.
Well, very interesting. And I think we're getting near the end of our program today. So I just, any final thoughts from any of you? Corbin?
Well, it's always fun to get together, and it's nice to hear the ideas that you guys are doing as well with that. These are really exciting times. It's fun. Technology innovation is alive and well, and our industry is benefiting from it. I'm really happy to see the new things coming along.
And everything works together. The more you talk about it, the more you see how all the technology that we're doing impacts what you do, impacts what you do, and all of them impact each other. John?
Well, it's so great. I think Corbin is completely right that this is a super exciting time. There's so many things that are coming together now, even better, becoming more closely connected to each other. I can maybe small plug. I've actually been the recipient of a Corbin Ball Technology Award for my use of technology in the industry. And this year, we really shifted over in our use of SharePoint and the OneDrive technology. I save a file to my computer, it shoves it to the OneDrive, and then I can see it on my iPad and my phone with doing nothing. And we had another event. Corbin, you ever been at that like conference or watch meeting planners where you needed to know stuff to the second? It wasn't to the day, right? It was to the second. And we were actually using SharePoint technology, having multiple people edit the same spreadsheet so that we knew that something was done ahead of time, and we did it. And it was all because of this cloud technology. This is no longer a dream. There are applications that are making changes in everyday life. So exciting times, that's what I'm here for, and I hope to bring another piece of technology to it in the future.
Leo?
I mean, love seeing how technology develops. I mean, you know, it'd be great to see what's out on the show floor. I think you know, you look at technology, you look at things like you know, you're talking about your iBeacon technology,
That's right.
which appears everywhere. I mean, we're implementing a number of things around iBeacon technology as well. I think it's great to see how these things really become integrated into everything, and you know, it'll be exciting to see what the new phone, you're talking about the new iPhone, you know, what that can do to help move these things forward as well. So yeah, exciting times.
We'll never have to buy another phone from them. It's going to be so good. Right?
For at least 12 months.
Yeah.
For the next 2 years, at least.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us. And thank you for watching today. And stay tuned for a brief interview with Tourism Australia, who was gracious enough to sponsor this event for you today. So stay tuned. And thanks for joining us for this part of the program from IMEX America. We're here at IMEX America with Jane Whitehead, Regional General Manager of the Americas for Tourism Australia. Thank you for joining us.
It's great to be here.
And thank you for sponsoring our on-location broadcast today.
Yeah, absolutely. Pleasure to be here.
And I just thought I'd ask you some questions about Australia for our meeting planner readers. What should business event planners know about Australia?
I think at the moment Australia is undergoing a dramatic infrastructure expansion and an unprecedented expansion of infrastructure. So certainly some of the key convention centres, Melbourne has an expansion that will be complete the middle of next year. Adelaide recently completed an expansion in time to host the biggest congress that it's had, the International Astronautical Association. Cairns has just announced an expansion that will begin next year, and also we're undergoing a hotel boom, and so certainly the Sydney Sofitel is the newest to open, and it's really exciting because add to that some of the wow factor experiences we offer, fantastic service, really friendly, welcoming people. It's a really exciting time for business events in Australia.
Excellent, and you guys have a huge incentive market, a great attraction for that. What are some of the great incentive destinations in Australia?
Well, certainly the Great Barrier Reef remains a really iconic attraction. So over 2,600 kilometres of fantastic reef, and so many ways to experience that, you know, by boat, by helicopter, by plane. So that remains really a fantastic destination for Americans, and it's on most Americans' dream list to visit. Sydney, you know, beautiful city that people, you know, really want to experience when they come to Australia. Melbourne's laneways and great food and wine culture. And also people are really getting out and experiencing more of the regions as well, and fantastic food and wine, and some of our great aquatic and coastal experiences as well.
It's really a bucket list destination for a lot of people, huh?
It is, but it's. I think that's why we really offer that wow factor that people are looking for. And you know, if you really want to wow your business partners, your staff, your clients, I mean, Australia's the place to do it. But it's very accessible, and it's actually never been a better time to go to Australia. We've got better air access than ever before, more than 110 non-stop flights a week from the US to Australia. That continues to grow. Couple that with the infrastructure expansion, it's a great time to go and make that dream come true.
Excellent. And I understand you've had some wins in the association segment recently. We
have, yeah, absolutely. There's the Global Women's Summit next year in 2018. The Indigenous Association for Education that will be going to Adelaide in 2020. Melbourne has won the World Ophthalmology Conference in 2022, so more than 14,000 delegates coming to that. And the Lions Club International Conference in 2024, so more than 13,000. So yeah, definitely a great momentum there.
Well, excellent. Sounds like you're doing some great business, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having us. Thank you.